Hey there, it's Will. I thought I would go through looking at some of the high growth stocks from ARK investment ETFs. And more generically, I'm going to show you how to import a CSV file, comma separated value file, which has stock tickers, and import that into TC2000. And the beauty of doing that, when you import tickers from some ETF or wherever you have a list of stocks, you can then sort, you can scan that watch list for your own criteria, which will filter it out even more. So instead of using some of the web-based online free services, you pull in the charts easily. You pull in the stocks into your system that you have established already with TC2000. So I'll explain that a bit coming up here. So if you want to get a free trial of TC2000 or even a $25 discount if you purchase it, check out the link in the description below. There's also there's a course in a chat room for candlestick trading that you might want to check out, which has the full, coverage of everything you need to know for trading stocks. So what I'm going to do is go to ARK-funds.com. So there's a bunch of ETFs here in different areas, which is innovation, autonomous technology and robotics, next generation internet, genomics, and fintech. And then there's also 3D printing and this Israel innovative tech. So for an example, I'm going to use the 3D printing ETF. If we go to TC2000 and we look at the ETF here, TC2000 has an amazing feature called Open Component Watch List. And you can see stocks that are inside the ETFs. Sometimes it's not quite correct, for certain ETFs, or if they're changing. Like in a lot of cases, it's fine, but I found that sometimes you may not have the exact stocks that are in the fund at this particular time. So what you can do, and there's other reasons you might want to do this, but is import a list of tickers from a file. So that could be, you could obtain that in a variety of ways. If you have a spreadsheet, or in this case, I'm going to grab it from the ARK website. So what you do is you go to watch list and say new personal list, and I'm going to call this 3D printing, okay? And then, there's an empty list here. There's this little menu item, and it'll say paste, and that's where you're going to paste in the tickers. So what we're going to do is go to ARK Funds. So now I'm on the, and you, like I said, if you have a spreadsheet with your own tickers or something like that, you can use that as well. And then down here it says fund holdings CSV file. And that's going to download the 3D printing list of stocks. So what I'm going to do now, I'm on a Mac, so if you have Windows, it'll be different. But I'm going to open up the CSV file. And what happens is it opens up this file. And I'll scroll over here with the scroll bar here and go to the ticker column. And then I'll scroll down to the bottom and I'll hold down the shift button. So that selects the whole column. And then I go right click and copy. So there's a copy, if you're in Office, you click the column and you select the stock similarly and then copy that as well. Right click, copy. So now I've got the list of stocks. So then I go back to TC2000 where I showed you the menu and then paste. And it'll say 38 symbols were found, import into 3D printing. So I'll say okay. So now I have all the stocks. So these, you can see these are different from what was shown in TC2000. So it doesn't always have the most up-to-date stocks. In a lot of cases it's fine, but in this case I wanted to make sure, I want to analyze her stocks. And there's different ways that you have different criteria. Everybody has different interests in stocks above a certain moving average or a recent high or whatever. There's lots of amazing scanning capabilities in this program, TC2000. So MACD, like this is price percent oscillator, similar to MACD. I have the slope here calculated on a column. The reason that it shows these custom columns is that if you right click and you add a column, eventually you can save that column set and you can make it the default. So if I say save column set, which is all these columns, I can set it as a default for all watch lists if I want. And that way my custom columns will show up. So one way I sort is, without scanning them particularly, is to just say sort by the slope of the MACD, which is kind of indicating a steep momentum. So if we look at the top column here, ANSS, and then we can go to Microsoft. So you can see that these are in a bit of a nice uptrend. The other thing you can do is scan and put conditions on it. So I'm going to use sort of a MACD crossover. I use a PPO, which is price percent oscillator. That kind of filters out, it standardizes it. It doesn't depend on the price, which a lot of times MACD is, the values will be dependent on the price. So this allows you to compare stocks if you wanted to do that. But what I'm looking for is this crossover point, which is not exactly the low. I'm not trying to get the exact low point because, it's not always correct. Like if you look here, we came down, we started coming back up. You might have bought in just because you think, well, now we're up, and then it comes back down again. And then you start to see it come up again. You might buy here thinking we're above the low now, and then it comes down again. So during this particular phase, there's a few things you can notice. You're in a downtrend. So you can draw a line like this. Sorry, I gotta cancel this for a second. Oops, let's go back where I was. Okay. Microsoft. So what you can do if you're starting to go down, you can sort of draw a trend line like this. It kind of flattens out, which is an issue, but you can see that it's below the 8 EMA, this black line. So there's red dots, which are volatility stops I've talked about, which mean that you're below that, so you don't really want to be buying. This other thing is the MACD is showing a decline. So if you're trying to catch the bottom, it's not easy. Obviously, if you bought here, it's a fairly low, it's a fairly low price that eventually could become higher, but you'll start to notice over here that the MACD is crossing up down over here. So if you get in over here, you're in a better position. But I also, when I look at something that, say the MACD crosses right here, but you're right below the 50, I want to see it sort of get past the 50-day moving average because it's kind of a resistance line. So you have to look at a few variables when you're purchasing. Even if you break through the 50, as you can see here, there's no guarantee it's going to stay above the 50. So there's no guarantees when you're buying stocks, but it's a probability situation. So once you broke over the 50, you could get in, you'd get a 5 or so percent, but then you're going to see a pullback. So, you might not have made very much in this particular point. But when we go back, there's points where we cross the MACD and, you can ride that up for a while. So anyways, I've got watch lists now. I created them for each of the funds, or not every single one, but pretty much the different ARK funds. And of course you can use the built-in Like if I go ARK and I click on the component watch list, I get 35 items. So it's pretty good. Like it's got a lot of the stocks that are in there. But if you want to be super accurate and current, you can import that maybe once a month or something if you wanted to do that. For specific ETFs, like I'm looking at growth stocks in the tech, you know, mostly tech, genomics, fintech, stuff like that. So I'm not going to do this for hundreds of ETFs or anything like that, but this was important to me to have the updated, you know, the most accurate list of stocks in that fund. The other thing you can do is subscribe to get the stock trading the transactions that are going on. I'll show you in the ARK trading desk here that they send me an email when they trade stocks. So you can see that they bought 10 Cent here, and that they bought Work, and they sold Square and Zillow Group. Now, they try to keep a percentage of allocation for different stocks. So don't, you know, because they sold Square, let's say, it doesn't mean that they don't like it anymore or something like that. And you can see the percentage of the ETF, 0.03. So Square went up quite a bit, and so I think they're rebalancing. But, you know, if you really want to know everything, you'd have to be just, you know, looking at their documentation on their website. But anyway, like I said, you might have an ETF. I mean, you might have a file that you've developed yourself in a spreadsheet, and this way it's easier than manually typing them all in. And the other benefit of using TC2000 is that once you have these watch lists, you can scan them for more. So like, say for example, you might really like the ARK ETFs, but you want to trade the stocks within them, or you might want to buy them and hold them. But you'll notice that if I look at an ARK ETF and I go, say, to the worst performing ones at the current time, well, what I'll do is I'll sort by the slope, ascending. So we can look at tree. So if we look at like lending tree, you might not want to buy this stock. You might want to buy it when it's coming up here like this. And so these are in the ETF, and you can't really do anything about that. But you're looking for stocks that you might want to trade. So this just shows that some of these stocks are not necessarily, like, you know, you're below the 50 and the 200. You're in a bit of a downtrend here. So this way you can sort of filter the stocks within the ETF, and you know, you might want to avoid those ones. So you could just pick and choose the best of the, you know, obviously Roku, Square, Spotify are all looking like they're breaking through these downtrends here. Zillow Group. So Autodesk is good. These are amazing. Like if you look at all the stocks at the top, and that's because I've sorted by the MACD slope, which is kind of showing that upward momentum, and you see how it's crossing. And then, like I said, you can put scans in here, and this is where you can use all sorts of conditions. I've got like MACD crosses, but there's an incredible number of conditions. I can say recent uptrend, recent downtrend, whatever you're looking for. All right, guys, I've been going on long enough on this video, so hopefully that helps you import CSV files and to find the best stocks within an ETF such as the ARK funds. Talk to you guys later.